As a reviewer, I always try to stay as impartial as I can possibly be. But in this case, it's tough because, you know what? I love this car. The Audi A7 TDI, it's got it all. Big, comfortable, fast, glued in the corners, gorgeous to look at, an exquisite interior, and it's incredibly fuel efficient. It's all-wheel drive, and in fact, it is one of the most fuel-efficient all-wheel drive vehicles available in America today. And when you're driving it, it's like nothing else. The A7 TDI's 3-liter V6 turbo diesel engine produces a very healthy 240 horsepower and 428 foot-pounds of torque. It's mated to an 8-speed Tiptronic automatic transmission for optimal efficiency. The interior of this S-Line is absolutely exquisite. The leather, the woodwork. Take a look at the way that dashboard and the door panels are just carved out. I think George Nakashima would approve of it. Everything falls to hand in exactly the right places. The shift knob, it just fits perfectly. Then your hand falls down to the multimedia interface control, the jog wheel. Really well designed. So as you're driving, your hand's here. Your thumb can click through zoom levels. Your index finger can change the volume. There's no poking at the screen because that's not a touch screen. You want to change to the radio? There's the radio, and now you're clicking through the different choices. When you find one you want, click down. No fingerprints, no reaching, no distractions. If you don't want to see the screen anymore, all you got to do is this. And it's totally uncluttered. One of the things I love the most about the A7 is the steering wheel. Now, check this out. It's thin. It's not overly beefy, but it's just the right size. It's kind of like Goldilocks. At 2 and 10, nice. There are your thumbs. Here's your grip. Perfectly sculpted. Slide down here to 4 and 8. It's a different feel. And all the way down at the bottom, there's yet another notch. You don't see it at first, but there's a flat area here. And at different parts of the wheel, the widths change. Super simple controls on the wheel itself. Over here, you've got the stuff for the interface. Over here, you've got multimedia. The one thing that I don't dig, and you see this often on German cars, is that the cruise control is way back here on a stalk. It's not on the wheel. Once you get used to it, you're okay. But at first, it can be a little disconcerting. This nav is way different. Blame it on Google. It's like you're in an airplane. You can fly over and zoom in. Very scary, very cool. The A7 TDI is officially rated at 24 city, 38 highway, 29 combined. The 19-gallon capacity fuel tank delivers a whopping amount of driving range. I have no quibbles with the A7 TDI's factory-rated 0 to 60 mile/hour time of 5.5 seconds. The rear seat provides 36.6 inches of headroom, 37 inches of legroom, and 55.9 inches of shoulder room. Amenities include a pair of 12-volt outlets at the back of the center console and HVAC venting in the side pillars. Plenty of legroom, nice cutout for the knees, headroom, a little tight I'm 5'10", and I'm kind of close to the ceiling. Lovely LED reading lamps. Very elegant center armrest. Storage compartment. It's fuzzy in there, so don't let your French fries fall in. The all-important drink holder. One more piece that sets it apart. Center pass. Large enough to accommodate snowboards. The rear cargo area provides 24.5 cubic feet of storage with the rear seat up. This is highway MPG testing, and let me just say, we're doing quite well for a car this big and this comfortable and this powerful. Coming up to end of the first loop in another mile and a half. Let's see how we did. With cruise control on and set to 67.5, adaptive cruise, you scored 44 miles per gallon. Not too shabby. Now the Audi Cruise is kind of different because normal cruise controls, when you flip the switch, you can go in 1 mile increments. This one wants to go in 2.5 mile increments, so it's 65, 67.5, or 70. 67.5 being the closest to my normal 68. I went with that. This is an A7 TDI S-Line, and it is chock full of all the good stuff. You've got 3 great highway safety items. Lane keep, blind spot mirrors, and adaptive cruise control. Together, they make highway cruising a sheer joy. And there's one more safety feature, Audi's braking system. On this loop, I vary my speeds between 60 and 72 depending on terrain. I try to pick up a little speed on the way downhill, lose a little bit of speed on the way uphill, and generally speaking, I see numbers higher, cruise off than cruise on with almost every car I test. Now, I'm not an extreme hypermiler by any means. I don't consider myself a hypermiler. I just kind of try to drive smart. So right now, speed limit is 65. I'm going downhill. I lift my foot off the accelerator pedal and just let it ease downhill. Pick up a little bit of speed. Coming down. Now I'm into my next run up. And I try to be as light as I can be. The more pressure you put on the pedal, the more duration you're on the pedal, the more fuel you're going to use. It's as simple as that. And my big trick, it's not a trick. Always drive with an instant fuel economy gauge on. If your car has one, turn it on. If it doesn't have one, go get one. The A7 TDI, it's got a really nice one. It's a thermometer style gauge. And it shows you with a little triangle exactly where you are at any given point for an average. The thermometer part gives you your instant. And you'll see when you lift in the A7 TDI, particularly when you're going downhill, or when you brake, you'll go into a green zone. It's regenerating electricity. In lieu of an alternator, the brakes are putting electricity back into the battery. Very cool. You know, that was exclusively a hybrid thing. More and more, it'll be in every car. But it's in the A7 TDI, and it works quite well. You don't really feel it. It's not a funny feeling brake at all. The A7 TDI has different driving modes, and I reckon these are going to affect your fuel economy, because if you're in dynamic mode, which folks would consider a sport mode, it's going to suck more gas because it raises the shift point, so you're running at a higher RPM level. If you switch it down to auto or to comfort, you'll see the RPMs drop. A little lower, a little more fuel efficient. Accelerator's not going to be as responsive, but hey, when you want to go for that, just flip the switch. We've got a couple miles until what I call the corkscrew of death, which is a big loop over a gigantic swamp of Jersey outside of Trenton. Takes me off of 295 onto 195, whatever that is. And it's scary. It's really scary. But it's much less scary in a car like this. See, because I like to take those ramps with a little more speed to carry the inertia through to save some fuel. But on this one, you loop around and you make a climb, so any speed that you can carry through it is less speed that you need to make up on the way back. The amazing part about doing it with adaptive cruise control is that on the first loop, you could just leave cruise on and follow behind the car in front of you. And as they accelerate, you accelerate. Pretty nifty. I didn't have the camera all rigged up for that, but it's very cool. I'd like to show some of that stuff maybe on a closed course. So what I tend to do is right here I'm at 65 and there's the ramp and I let off. If I were using cruise, I'd shut cruise off. So I try to idle up the hill and there's a little yellow Chevy behind me. She's right up my tail. So on the accelerated pedal just as lightly as I can be. Right now I'm doing about 52. And I'm going to hold that as I come across here because there's a big merge from the right. And you've got to be really careful about it. So there the pickup truck is the last one. I got to brake in traffic. I can move over. Now, I'm off the accelerator again. I'm doing about 40. It says exit 25, right? The little yellow Chevy's on my tail. And I am on the throttle now. Excuse me, I'm on the accelerator now. And I'm up to about 42. Little yellow Chevy's gone. Holding 42 through the loop. And I would have gone a little faster, but I don't want to make you seasick. Now we crawl up the hill. Accelerating slowly. And I don't want to give it away and tell you where my consumption rate is, but it's pretty good. As I exited a corkscrew, I was actually over 50 miles per gallon, but that tends to be a high point on these loops. In that it's kind of like a little downhill on the way out and uphill on the way back as we're coming up from the Delaware River. Blame it on geography, but the route back home from the halfway point always uses more gas than the route out. That's why we do a loop, and that's why I do it more than once, right? First time with cruise control on to set a baseline. Second time with cruise control off to see what's there and exploitable within the system. And this TDI engine responds really well to light footing. The more you get to know your car, the more efficient you become. It's just like anything else. Nearing the end of the second loop, this is the cruise control off loop where speeds vary between 60 and 72. More towards 60 this time. I'm right around 60, just a hair under 60 at the moment. And the tachometer says we're turning about 1,300 RPM. So it's just burbling. Let's see what we get as we cruise off the exit ramp. I could have been higher. We're going to call this one 46.3 miles per gallon. I'm a little sad this morning because it's time to send the A7 TDI back to the nest. It's fabulous. I don't want to give it up. But before I do, I'm going to fill it up. I'm here at the service station. Let's see how much diesel fuel it takes to fill the tank. Over the course of the week, I traveled 479.5 miles on 14.74 gallons of fuel, netting an average of 32.5 miles per gallon combined.
While I've never given any awards, if I did, I'd crown the 2014 A7 TDI the king of all-wheel drives for its stunning mix of fuel efficiency, luxury, technology, and undeniable roadworthiness. If there's a downside, it's the price. But hey, maybe my mom was right, and I should have gone to medical school after all.